Hello, Ventural Yogis. I'm Jessie Raspiller, and we are sitting in a new part of my home today, all because we were having a discussion on my self-care practices this last week on Instagram. I was talking about some of the Ayurvedic principles that I was weaving into my self-care practices. And Ayurvedic, if we just take it from the most baseline of what it is sort of the science that backs up yoga. And so if yoga is how we move throughout the world, both in philosophy and physical asana, then Ayurvedic is sort of how we maintain and take care of ourselves in that movement. And so there's three main constitutions, as we like to call them in Ayurvedic. They are sort of what compiles together in our physical existence and how we maintain our sense of self from those. And these can be found online, and there's some really amazing quizzes that you can go on to sort of help you narrow down what your constitutions could be. The most practical way to do this is to actually meet with an Ayurvedic practitioner. I am not one. I've just studied this through all of my teaching trainings through yoga philosophy. I'm happy to share some local practitioners here with you that I love and practice with myself. But these three doshas, or constitutions as we know them, are Pitta, Vata, and Kapha. And these constitutions, again, make up who and how we are and go down to everything of how we digest food to what we put on ourselves and what's going to be most beneficial to keep us vital in our lives. And so our Abhyanga massage, I love this. And so I want to first say this, just like any part of yoga, pieces of this information are passed down from lineage to lineage. And while they come from the same core in essence, the way that I may do Abhyanga might be slightly different than how somebody else has showed you in the past. And this is just how my teachers passed on and shown me. And so I start with some oil. And for me, I'm a very Vata person, or I tend to be out of balance in my Vata. And once you learn a little bit more about this, you'll understand that. So my constitution works best with sesame oil. And once you've taken a quiz, you can sort of figure out which components work best for you. Some people are better with the coconut oil. Sesame oil tends to work best with a lot of the constitutions. So I would say do a little research, but sesame oil is a great one. I've used coconut oil in the past, but as I've learned more, this just works better for me. So this would be a warm oil if I was truly doing this. And the way that I warm my oil is just simply boil some water and place heat-resistant glass into the boiling water and just let it warm up to a little bit under bath temperature so that you can actually touch this. Because the next piece of this is all about massaging this into us. And so I mentioned how this is a really good practice for vitality. And other than it making you feel really good and just energized and also very relaxed, it actually helps with the circulations throughout our body. And so while we're at home and we can't necessarily go get massages from our favorite massage therapist, this is a beautiful time to take care of ourselves and to learn these things that we can continue to enrich our lives with. And so again, this is how I go about this for me. The way that my teacher taught this, first of all, is that on the long bones, we rub long ways. And then on the joints, we rub in a circular motion. And so if I was actually doing this right now, I would just simply dip my fingers in here, kind of rub my palms together, starting down at our feet, sort of the root of our body, and just taking some time to be really intentional and maybe actually setting an intention for this practice, whether this is just to nourish, whether you need some extra energy right now, or just a little time to yourself that you're hiding in the bathroom from everybody. So once you sort of rubbed the long bones, you'd come onto the joints and you would just make a circular motion around the joints again to lubricate both internally and externally. And again, long bones, long ways. As we get to knees, just rubbing. And then again, so forth. You'd repeat on the other side. Same when you come to something like a hand, here, wrists. Stomach's really important. Our digestion is so important during these times, making sure that we're not only digesting our food properly, but our experiences. And so always making sure that Agni, or that fire, is churning within. And so you want to make sure that you're going in a clockwise fashion, the motion of our digestive system. And when you're doing this, really take time. I'm going in a little bit of a high speed mode right now because I'm creating a video content for you guys, but really take your time to nourish and to get a little bit intimate with yourself without this having to be anything more than that. It's just taking time to really come back to yourself. And so once you've rubbed and massaged your entire body, and I noticed that on my cup I have markers on here because it's an older school mason jar, but I've done about a half a cup, give or take. I think last time I could have used a little bit more, but a half a cup or so worked pretty well for me for my entire body. And so once you've done everything from your neck up or neck down, then the fun part happens. We get to pour the remnants of this into our hair. And so ladies who have longer hair, this is probably why I actually needed more, is that you want to get this all the way down into your scalp. And I know you're thinking, well, what if I have a tendency towards greasiness? You can keep this off your face, obviously. And then again, it comes down to what oil constitutes your body type that isn't going to irritate or aggravate. Of course, if you have an allergy, please don't use something like sesame oil, and look into what's going to work for you. But once you get this poured into your hair, just allow it to sort of bathe down the back of your hair, down and for guys too, and just sort of let this come through, and you can start to actually work it through your hair when it gets there, just wrapping it up. And then I like to just pin my hair up into a bun, or if you have a little clip, you can do that. And then for me and my self-care practices, this is when I started with this, and then I let everything else take place. So I put a face mask on, I had my foot soak ready to go, and I just let myself sort of marinate in this essence that I had smothered on myself. And then of course, if you have this on the bottom of your feet when you go to stand, make sure that you've got something to wipe yourself off, that you're being very careful if you have a tile or something of slippery motions in your bathroom. And then of course, when you get into the shower, because you can shower this off afterwards, just be very careful in there. And you don't want to necessarily scrub because you want the enriching of the oils. And some people just leave this on. In India, they actually, my Ayurvedic teacher that I most recently studied with, she talked about how when she shared with her Indian heritage that her Western friends didn't do this every single day, they were baffled because, us Westerners were in such a hurry to just take a moment for ourselves. And so for me, this is something that I don't do that often, but I've done several times throughout this experience, and it really has been a really enriching experience for me, whether I've done it at the end of the day or in the middle of my day, just to give me a little pick-me-up. So I'd love to hear about your experience with Abhyanga, and if you're learning some stuff about the doshas along the way, please share them, or share with me what your doshas are as you take those quizzes. And I'd love to just kind of support each other with this. Again, if you have any questions about local practitioners that can provide some additional support, there's some really great other home practices that you can be doing as well. And so maybe I'll get one of them on here with us in the near future, and we can share some further details. So in the meantime, I hope that you guys are quarantining and taking great care of yourself. I hope you venture well.